Welcome viewers, Dr. J.W.A. theologist since 1994. We're in Muhammad, so near the revelation, so far from the Saviour. Episode 47 as we draw to the close, when grace started feeling more human than law. The room no longer merely feels condemned now. It feels emotionally unreachable. That is what several ordinary followers increasingly begin sensing beneath the proclamation of Muhammad. Though many still cannot explain why the deeper movement pursues righteousness, the more distant ordinary humanity itself begins feeling inside it. A younger man sits silently during a gathering while respected voices speak about obedience, judgment, purity, enemies, and sacred responsibility beneath exhausting and exhausted torchlights. The words still command discipline, but they no longer feel alive. Several listeners stared downward while warnings about weakness and failure moved through the room with familiar intensity. Yet something inside the ordinary listener has begun quietly collapsing beneath the repetition. Not conviction, hope. Because the soul eventually begins recognizing when law can expose failure without possessing power to heal the human being trapped beneath it. And that transformation matters enormously, viewers, because radical ideological systems accelerating toward religious absolutism increasingly measure humanity through performance, sacrifice, fearlessness, and visible conformity. Yet grace measures humanity different. Not by whether a person appears flawless, but whether reconciliation remains possible despite the brokenness inside them. For the Islamists, the degeneration deepens there. Not merely through harshness externally, through emotional starvation, spiritual starvation, existential starvation. Through ordinary men increasingly discovering that law may expose guilt while still leaving the soul relationally orphaned before God. One follower privately admits to himself that despite years of devotion, he no longer feels emotionally capable of peace. Another publicly praises discipline while secretly longing for someone to tell him he does not need to earn reconciliation through endless striving alone. A third quietly notices that the harsher the movement becomes toward weakness, the more emotionally detached ordinary followers increasingly appear beneath the atmosphere surrounding it. The structure is changing spiritually now. Law exposes, fear pressures, condemnation isolate. Muhammad's movement no more merely regulates belief, identity, obedience, sacrifice, and enemies. It increasingly regulates worth, belonging, acceptance, and whether human beings can still feel loved without proving themselves first. A quieter man notices how quickly emotional, intense personalities now speak about righteousness, while rarely speaking about restoration at all. Another quietly remembers hearing fragments from the people of the book that the Messiah ate with sinners, spoke with the broken, forgave the ashamed, and welcomed those unable to save themselves through law alone. And the thought unsettles him deeply because it reveals another terrifying possibility. Human beings may spend their entire lives attempting to become righteous enough for God, while never discovering the grace capable of restoring them to the Father. Nobody openly says the soul's dying beneath performance. Nobody needs to. The atmosphere already teaches that. And the pressure grows heavier here, viewers, because once righteousness becomes emotionally disconnected from mercy, ordinary people slowly begin losing hope that love itself remains unavailable to the undeserving. Several men now publicly defend strictness while privately craving compassion capable of reaching the exhausted person hidden beneath the performance demanded by the movement. One speaker warns that grace weakens discipline by making people comfortable with imperfection. And the room absorbs the warning immediately. Yet this time, something deeper shifts inside the ordinary listener. Not rebellion, recognition. One follower now experiences grief merely for realizing he longs to be restored rather than endlessly measured. Another increasingly senses that beneath all the sacrifice, fear, judgment, violence, condemnation, and radical striving surrounding the civilization itself, Muhammad's world. And humanity remains spiritually fractured because law alone cannot heal relational separation from the Father. And the Islamic movement demands and demanded performance. Yet the Messiah revealed mercy and grace. And where law continually exposed failure without restoring the soul, the Messiah quietly began revealing another reality entirely. Love before worthiness, mercy before perfection, and reconciliation offered to humanity before humanity could repair itself. I'm Dr. J.W. Ayub, theologist since 1994. Like, subscribe, comment to educate me, share to help somebody else. I'll see you in episode 48, when the broken started feeling closer to God than the righteous.